Metaphysics is a study of reality. Ontologically, we looked at the monist, the pluralist, and now we must look at the dualist. Monism is the view there's only one fundamental substance. Pluralism is the view there are many. And all the theories looked at gave us infinite stuff. You know, I feel like peeking in pluralism just for a second, although I'm talking about dualism here, all right? Atoms exist, numbers exist, Plato's forms look like they also exist, although I don't want to accept it. Plato's forms exist, Aristotle's essences also exist. This level of at the top part of pluralism causes some bizarre problem by saying there's infinite things existing out here, okay? Dualism emerges in the modern time. It's the first theory that goes against Aristotle's view of pluralism. And dualism emerged through the work of Rene Descartes. There are three major philosophers that made dualism a real modern philosophy. It begins with Descartes, the father of modern philosophy. He introduced the idea of dualism. Then Spinoza and Leibniz emerged with their own versions of it, trying to solve certain problems that they perceived in Descartes' theory. So, for the purpose of this course, we're not going to look at Spinoza and Leibniz, but if you want to dive deeper into their view of reality, again, I refer you to the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy. And in this case, also the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy to look more into Spinoza and Leibniz. Also Descartes, right? So Descartes, the father of modern philosophy, he seems the first one to reject Aristotle's approach towards reality, but he does it in such a different way. Such a different way, right? Descartes is at a time, the age of enlightenment, where science has more credibility across society. Society become more and more technologically advanced. They're moving away from a lot of the ancient philosophy. But in the academic system, in the schools, those philosophy ideas still dominate, right? Before Descartes sits down and engages in this philosophy, he becomes a respectable mathematician. He is a genius in mathematics. He invented or discovered analytical geometry, which is one of the most powerful mathematics we have today. It allows us to represent any physical objects mathematically. Without Descartes' mathematics, you don't have this PowerPoint presentation. You don't have your cell phone. You don't have video games. He is the heart of your computers. It's mathematical machination, and that's coming from Descartes, right? And his follower, Leibniz. Leibniz is the first one to publish the calculus, which is our most advanced mathematics. Both of these philosophers who engage in this kind of philosophy have strength in the mathematical world. And Descartes also recognized scientists. He studied how light works through prisms and discovered that he discovered some formulas that are still used to make corrective vision lens, so he can see properly. So he's recognizing that. And then late in life, he decided to find a philosophical foundation, because philosophy is the foundation of all your knowledge, find a philosophical foundation for all his truths. He also had a belief in the existence of God, okay? And he thought that it was not inconsistent to believe in science and believing in God, okay? But there was concern among the church at the time that those people in science, they were not really concerned with God, so they was watched very closely. But so Descartes writes a book, Meditations on First Philosophy. Meditation means reasoning constantly on first philosophy, which is metaphysics. The original name of metaphysics is first philosophy, the first topic philosophers ever studied. So he said, look, I'm going to sit in my study. Okay, that's his mind you see right in front of you. I'm going to sit in my study and go inside my mind and look at all my ideas and discover and try to find out which of my ideas, this is meditation, which of my ideas, which of my is true beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, which of my ideas is true beyond a shadow of a doubt? My ideas about the world, okay? Whichever that idea is going to become the foundation of everything else, okay? I'm going to prove everything else from it, all right? When he looks inside his mind, he sees there's too many ideas. He can't go through all of them. He's going to group them based on the evidence that they have of being true. Now, one of the biggest group is life experiences. Life experiences gives you a lot of things that you know, okay? And so those things are true, but also life experiences tell you that you can make a mistake sometime. At a distance, you see who looks like a friend. You approach the person and say, hey, how you doing, Brenda? The woman looks at you like, hey, who? No, I don't know you. And you feel embarrassed, right? So life experiences does give you ideas. So inside your mind, you may have all these ideas, but you can't always trust them. You got to move with caution. Okay. So Descartes says, I can reasonably doubt these things. This is called radical doubt. I can doubt all, when I go inside my mind, I can doubt all my life experiences and force myself to prove otherwise. All right. But then if I saw someone, I thought it was a friend, I can't doubt that I actually experienced it, can I? He has two different arguments that's talked about, right? Let's look at the less popular argument. He says, look, if I were to doubt that I saw that person yesterday and I called him a friend, I made a mistake, I embarrassed myself, people think I'm crazy. I'm filled with, I should be in the mental asylum, you know? You remember it, you recalled it, right? But Descartes argues that people who are in the mental asylums, guess what? They think they saw things too. They think they heard voices and things like that. If I was in the middle of town right now, Descartes writing, basically, I wouldn't, that person I thought was friend could have been a nurse or a doctor or no one at all. So how do I know right now I am not crazy? Until I know I'm not crazy right now, I can't use that, the memory of this and memory of that. I can't use my body and senses as being valid and irrefutable. I need to know. So therefore, it creates a reasonable doubt. But then he reflects, there are certain things I know with absolute certainty. 9 times 9 is 81. A squared but B squared is equal to C squared. Or this C is equal to square root of A squared but B squared in the Pythagorean theorem. I know these things for certainty. God's existence, I know with certainty. I don't need life experiences and perception to get, I know these things with certainty. But then he applies his theory, okay? Radical doubt. Can I reasonably doubt these things? Well, he sees these things as abstract entities. Okay, they're abstract in the Pythagorean kind of sense. Okay, and when he talks about God, and he had a faith of God, but now he's looking at this, he can't bring his faith to the philosophy. That's going to be something he have on the side. To continue with the philosophy, he has to justify the existence of God, because all these are abstract. And if God is a force there, then God can control it. God can make 9 times 9 be 71. Okay, he has all this power. So you got to validate the existence of God, because they're all abstract on this level. So that's what he focused on. He said, I believe in an all-powerful good God. But suppose there was an evil God out there. Okay, called the evil genius hypothesis. How would I know? I see good and bad in the world, and I'm just inferring there's a good God, but I never met this good God. How do I know? I'm just have this belief. It's a belief that I can't justify right now. If God might not exist, the truth of mathematics, which I hold on so dearly, must be justified. They may not be real as well. Okay, they might be false. Okay, so cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Okay, but Descartes is saying right now, look, I went inside my mind, discovered which of my thoughts, which of my ideas can be true beyond a shadow of doubt. I discovered I can doubt all of them reasonably, all of them, except for this. In order for me to be doubting, I need to exist. I need to exist. As a consequence, when I doubt my existence, that doubt is false. It's indubitable. I can doubt I exist. I doubt I exist, but that doubt is turned out to be false because I exist. I have to exist to doubt my existence. So when I'm looking at the world metaphysically and what is real, the one thing I can say is real for certainty is my mind, okay? And it exists. I am the mind in this sense. It exists. I doubt it is false. So the first idea I have in my head about what's real is this idea about my own existence. I can doubt the world, I can doubt God, mathematics, but I can doubt myself, but a doubt will be false. So this theory now is based on intuition, inner experiences, not external sense experiences, but inner experiences. We call that intuition, intuitive knowledge. Using that intuitive knowledge, he recognizes that he can account for his existence without really being able to account for the existence of anything else outside. He can doubt them. But since he is a man of mathematics and science, he does intend to give the world back. So from the core of his own existence, he began to argue. He gives an argument for the existence of God, okay? Because that was prominent, but now he was a man of faith, but now he's a man of reason. He's no longer bringing his faith to the philosophers. He began an argument. And many philosophers argue against that, and they say, that's no good, you need something else. and others accept it, okay? And we don't need to know what the argument is, but going forward, this is not about faith anymore. This is, I can prove that God exists by logical means, and here's the argument. So his view of reality includes a God, but it's now a philosophical God, okay? It's a philosophical God, not by faith, not how I feel. And for many religious people, they will reject him as an atheist, okay? Intellectual atheist, all right? Because he's not using the faith to get to God in this sense. But God's existence in his world guaranteed is a real world because God's a creator. And God's existence also means that God's the creator of both the mind and the body. Okay? That God creates the subtle things. This begins to cause a bit of problem. Dualism is the belief that two fundamental substances. There's a material substance, the physical material substance, and there is the spiritual substance, which is the mind. Okay? But here's so Cartesian dualism requires these two things, all right? Descartes thought when he came to the conclusion he had found an argument for the immortality of the soul. Immediately people attacked him and said, Descartes, you're talking about the mind and not the soul. But Descartes continued because ancient philosophers believed only two things. They thought the soul was the mind. There was no third object there. There's not the mind, body, soul like we have today. There was only the two things, all right? Now, what's the problem? What's the mind-body problem? I talked about existence before. Do you believe your mind exists? Or do you believe it's an abstract entity? If God exists, God must be a supermind, okay? Numbers exist, geometry exists. What are we talking about? It's a bizarre Pythagorean world right here, right? Does your mind exist? Is it a subtle thing that exists? Yes or no, all right? If it's like a number, then it doesn't exist. It's just a property of physical things, like I would say about numbers, okay? If it does exist, then you could have the spiritual sense that Descartes writes about, because he said the mind is nothing wrong with thinking that the mind can exist independent of the physical body, which is where you get spiritualism from, okay? Many scholars argued that the mind or the soul is an abstract entity in a different reality. Okay, so how can the physical body and that connect? Descartes does explain it, all right? He said that the mind and the body integrate in the pituitary gland, okay? And the mind gives a subtle vibration which the body picks up, which means they're on the same level of reality. He's using abstractness in the way I say, I talk about electricity as being, it's abstract, subtle, but it does exist, okay? So for him, the mind really exists. For many people who reject this, they go to an alternate reality and they say that the mind doesn't exist in this space-time continuum. It exists in a totally different realm. That's not Descartes' approach. And when I think of practical religious people, that's also not their approach either. But it is an intellectual problem for many people. How do these two work together? So that's the mind-body problem, where you believe in the transcendental existence of a mind that's on a whole different reality. And now you say, how could it exist? How could that transcendental thing affect us here right now? But if you say that, you'd be saying the same thing of God. If God is in a transcendental realm all by itself, how could God affect us here? All right. So the mind-body problem is taken up now by many people in science. Okay, the mind-body problem emerges in computer science today when you say an AI machine. To say AI machine, to say the machine now has a mind of itself. It has consciousness. There are many modern permutations of the mind-body problem now with the rise of AI and the possibility of in the future having conscious machines, right? So Descartes' dualism, we're not going to look at Spinoza's idea, nor Leibniz's idea, but I do recommend you read up on this so your sense of dualism can be complete. With the study of dualism, with our review of dualism, all right, we have completed the entire area of metaphysics. But there are a few more things I want to look at, okay? How does metaphysics apply to us in regular day-to-day life? There's a little bit more to be said about this topic, all right? So I really want to talk more because I call myself a metaphysician and I'm engaged in metaphysical reviews, analysis every day. Every day of my life, I'm doing this. So I would like you, or this is a college level course, I would like you to do some of the same. And when you do that, you find out studying metaphysics become easier and easier and more fun.